Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. One more time, a little louder. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we will be hearing from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi-Lila, chapter 2, verse 20, and the chapter is entitled Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the class will be given by His Holiness Chandramali Swami. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you and all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. My obeisances to Anasuya, Hare Krishna, and to the devotees. Hare Krishna. Good to be back. I feel like I'm back home when I come back to your broadcast.
Maharaj, we are always looking forward to your classes and your darshan and your blessings and your mercy and everything else that comes with it.
Well, there's a few extra things you added there, but anyway.
I'm trying to be greedy here, Maharaj.
There's no mercy. Even demons have mercy, can give mercy too. Oh boy, you put me back into the Bhagavad Gita.
I apologize, Maharaj. We can add that to this if you want.
Well, no, the next verse is the Bhagavatam, so
Yes.
we're getting so we'll continue and we'll go through, because this verse is just, I'll speak on each of the verses.
That's fine, Maharaj.
Okay. We'll start. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra, Jai Gaur Bhaktivinoda, Atava Bahuna Tena, Kimjitena Tuvarjuna, Vistavyam, Idam Krishnam, Ikam Sena Stito Jagat. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna says, what more shall I say to you? I live throughout this cosmic manifestation merely by a single plenary portion. Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. So the last verse, practically in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, describing his own potencies to Arjuna, Krishna spoke the verse. Umagyantimirandasya Gyanadjana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadam Mayam Dadati Swayam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shri Bhakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvashesha Sunyavari Vastyatya Desatarine Manchakalpa Tu Vischakri Pasindu Pre Vichapatikanam Bhavane Bhyo Vaishnavi Bhyo Namaha Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, starting with around verses 20, 21, Krishna goes on for about 20 some verses, describing the powerful elements within the material energy and describing that he is the personification of each one of them. In other words, he's the best in all categories. So one who describes or can describe something that is outstanding within the category, one should see Krishna in that. Of course, one should learn to see Krishna in everything, but these more outstanding and more prominent aspects of the material energy and material personalities also are reflective of the greatness of God, because their greatness is simply the energy of God. And here, Krishna, after speaking in such detail with so many varieties, he sums it up at the end. What more can I say? That actually, what I'm describing to you is just a tiny fraction of my opulences. It's so small, it's insignificant. Although to some people it seems so grand, and that mostly for those who have a very less understanding of the nature of the personality of Godhead, when they hear about him and his categories of greatness within the material realm, then they become overwhelmed with awe and reverence toward the Lord. But these are, as Krishna says, are so insignificant. When Krishna's opulences and his unlimited power and existence comprises everything. And we can go into the spiritual world and the manifestations on how the material world unfolds in so many different ways. All of these are just a part of Krishna's unlimited power. No one can understand or even begin to describe the glories of the Lord. And we have Anantasesh, who is the multi-headed serpent, who sits on the bottom of all the universes and holds the universes on his hooves. He is so huge that the universes appear to be just like mustard seeds on the top of his head. They're so insignificantly small compared to him. He chants the glories of the Lord from time immemorial, and it's explained that he never repeats the same one. So he is an expansion of Sri Balaram in his manifestation as Anantasesh. So we get a little indication from other aspects of the Lord's greatness, how unlimitedly powerful Krishna is, can't be described. And so it helps us to understand that everything, especially in this reflective statement here that Krishna's summing up after he describes himself in different categories, that we can start to see him in the material energy. We see something wonderful. I remember I was in Canada many years ago at the Rath Yatra there. And then we decided to go to Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls is considered one of the wonders of the world. And it's on two sides. It's on the US side and it's on the Canadian side. On the Canadian side, it's much more grander. And these are huge waterfalls that are just pouring billions of gallons of water continuously coming from, we don't know the sources. The sources cannot be seen. They're just pouring out of these, the sides of these mountains. And it's going on, and the water is so voluminous and so powerfully rushing that it's an awe-inspiring experience. So I remember when we were there one day, and we were watching, and there were some tourists next to us, and there was a lady with a little boy. And the little boy said to his mother, well, who created this? And the lady said, well, that's nature. And then I was with one devotee, so I told him, tell the lady it was God. So he immediately turned around and said to the lady, God created it. And then she corrected herself. She said to her son, oh yes, God created it. So yeah, we can see that these powerful exhibitions of material energy, as Krishna says, are only a tiny, insignificant portion of his unlimited powers. But this is the way that people get some experience of God. For a devotee, they're not so much overwhelmed by these things. They know that the real opulences of God is his mercy upon the conditioned souls in the material world. When he shows his mercy in different ways, these are his opulences. For instance, when he wants something done, he doesn't do it himself, although he is qualified to do it himself. He will inspire one of his devotees to do it for him. As Prabhupada uses the example that he could have spread Krishna consciousness all over the world when he was here as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he made India, practically the whole country was fully Krishna conscious. And then the question came, why didn't he take it around the world? And Prabhupada said, well, he left it for me to do. And what Prabhupada was saying is that the Lord likes to empower his devotees to do wonderful things on his behalf. And this is one of his opulences. His opulence is, along with the empowerment, is his mercy upon his devotee, because although he does everything and he supplies the ingredients for everything to get done, he never wants to become the person to take the credit. He likes his devotees to take the credit. Prabhupada said, sometimes he appears in a dream and his garden is not in good shape. So he tells his devotee, make my garden. And the devotee gets inspired to the dream, and then the Lord helps him carry out the activity, and the devotee gets the credit. Or the devotee will build a temple for the Lord, and inspired by the Lord within the heart. So This is closer to his grand opulences, as he is so powerful, he doesn't want it, and so great that everything is attributed to him, but he is at the same time very renounced, that he doesn't want to take the credit. He likes to give the credit to his devotee. So, but when a devotee does something on behalf of the Lord and it comes out successful, then the devotee wants to give credit to the Lord, but the Lord at the same time glorifies the devotees and says, oh, you've done a nice job, and everyone else gives credit to the devotee. So that's Krishna. That's one of his opulences, is that he is so powerful, yet so renounced at the same time. Okay, so these are some of the principles that we can think about. The grandeur, power, opulence, magnitude of Krishna's existence is beyond description. Here he gives a little indication of through the material energy. But Prabhupada would say that the entire material creation consists of 1/4 of the portion of everything in existence. And that means the collective planets throughout the material energy, which includes the 14 planetary systems, which have unlimited planets in these planetary systems. You have Swargaloka, you have Bhuloka, and you have Bhuvaloka, the 3 levels of existence, 14 planetary systems, and unlimited planets in those. It says the Koti, millions of different planets, universes, and this is only 1/4. And Prabhupada would say this universe that we are in is one of the smallest of all the universes. Many of the universes are much bigger, have more planets, and are characterized by a Lord Brahma who takes charge of each and every universe. According to the size of the universe, the Brahma has so many heads. So in this universe, he only has 4 heads. In other universes, he has 8 heads, 10 heads, 20, 1,000,000 heads. So many heads because of the size of the universe, was indicated by the size of Lord Brahma. So these are just, and then that's only 1/4 of the creation. 1/4 of the existence, which is the creation. The manifestation, which has no creation, is the 3/4 aspect of the spiritual world. That 3/4 aspect includes various manifestations of universes with spiritual planets, and on each one of the planets, the Lord expands himself into a form of himself to manage on that particular planet, or to be worshipped on that particular planet. So that is the Vaikuntha realm, which is unlimited. It's actually expanded from Lord Balaram himself, and it has many, we can't even begin to describe how big it is. Just one planet alone is bigger than the universe that we sit on. So this is the magnitude of the Lord. But then again, there's another feature of the Lord that is so amazing, that he can be smaller than the small. And he enters into the hearts of all living entities as super soul. And he sits within that heart, guiding each and every living entity accordingly. He's called Antaryami, or the internal manifestation of the guide of the living entity. The external manifestation is the spiritual master, which is an expansion of the super soul himself. So in his super soul feature, he is everywhere. He's in the hearts of all living entities, no matter what living entity it is. Even if it's a worm in stool, he's in the heart of that living entity. Of course, because he is spiritual and transcendental, although he sits in the heart of that person, he doesn't touch the material energy at all. He is so kind that he accompanies each and one of the living entities in their struggle in material existence, guiding them in different ways. And he, as it says, everywhere of his arms and legs, eyes and faces, in this way the super soul exists. So there's another feature of Krishna in his super soul feature, aside from his Bhagavan feature, in his unlimited forms, in the personal aspect of the Lord. And then in the Brahman feature, he is the spiritual rays that pervade the entire universes. Just like the sun has sunshine, there's one sun in every universe, and that sun can light up the universe. It's so powerful. And it's amazing because if you actually analyze the sun has been existing for billions and billions of millenniums, but that same sun doesn't diminish in its power. So where does that energy come from? Unlimited light, unlimited heat, and there's no, generator there to supply power from another source. That comes from Krishna. And Krishna says the sun is simply my eye, and the moon is my other eye. So through the moon and the sun, he reflects heat and light and happiness, and also cooling rays, and gives nourishment to the vegetables. In other words, in all aspects of existence, Krishna is there in different parts, giving the energy, the power, the facility, everything is there. One time in one lecture, Prabhupada wanted to emphasize the oneness of the absolute truth. So he said, we are Krishna, you are Krishna, we all are Krishna, everything is Krishna, it's only Krishna. Of course, when he spoke like that, everyone thought, my God, what is Prabhupada saying? Now he's saying, he used to say, well, anyone who said he's God, he's dog, and now he's saying something else. No, what he was trying to, and then he clarified what he wanted to express, that yes, Krishna cannot be separated from anything because everything is coming from him. We're sitting on a particular chair. That chair is made out of water metal, and water metal was coming from the material energy in the form of a tree or various metals found within the earth. And all of these metals in the tree, the wood of the tree, is supplied by the Lord through his various energies. And being one of the elements of material energy, earth, it comes in the form of wood. And Krishna says, I create the basic elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. They're created by the Lord, and they are formulated by Lord Brahma, guided by Krishna in the heart. Brahma gets the intelligence how to take the entire creation and formulate it. But Krishna gives the direction and Brahma does the work. And the ingredients are supplied by the Lord. So the point we're trying to make is that you can't get away from God. He's everywhere. But the devotees really love to worship the God in his form as the Archavigraha deity in the temple, who manifests his sweetness for the devotees to worship. And out of all of the opulences of the Lord, the deity reflects his beauty opulence as the most prominent. And therefore the devotees get attracted to the beauty of the Lord and develop an attraction for the Lord and ultimately worship the Lord. So this feature of beauty, as described throughout the scriptures, Krishna's beauty is being described in so many different ways, is the cynosure or the focus of the devotee in their worship of Krishna. Krishna is so beautiful. I remember I was in one temple, it was in America, and one devotee. He was running the temple, him and his wife. It was a small little family temple. And they received a gift of clothes that were stitched for their deities. They had deities of Jagannath, Subhadra, and Balaram, and Gaur-Nitai, and also Nrsingadev. So he received this gift of clothes. So he's looking at the clothes and he's thinking, these clothes are not so nice. But then he thought, oh, it's a gift, I should try it on. So when he put them on the Lord, and they dressed the Lord that day, he was astonished to see how beautiful the Lord looked in the clothes. So it wasn't so much the clothes, it was the Lord that made the clothes beautiful. As soon as the clothes came upon the Lord, the clothes took on a whole different appearance, a whole different expression. So that's another indication that anything connected with Krishna becomes nice. I'll use another example. Maybe it's not so nice. We see devotees, they come to Krishna consciousness, and they're sometimes they're raggy or kind of not so nice looking. They are, maybe, they could go into the category of being unattractive. But as soon as they start engaging in devotional service and connect with Krishna, then all of a sudden they become attractive. When they first join, they look quite haggard or ragged out, or just who they are. But after in devotional service, they become beautiful. So that is Krishna. And soon anything connected with Krishna takes on some of his qualities like that. So therefore, this verse is just a small indication of the real opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is unlimited and indescribable. We can't imagine. Therefore, what does this pretty much say is that there's no other place to put your attention. I just read something this morning that you may see beauty in another person, but if you want to find all the beauty in one place, go to Krishna. Krishna is, sometimes we use the terminology, Krishna is beautiful, but that is not really descriptive of Krishna. We don't say Krishna is beautiful, we say Krishna is beauty. Beauty gets its definition from Krishna. So that's one of the, power gets its definition from Krishna. When Prahlad Maharaj was being harassed by his father, and he was able to withstand his harassment in so many ways, his father was amazed and astonished to see how powerful his son was. He tried everything to kill him, he couldn't do it. He was a 5-year-old boy, and he wasn't even fighting back. So Hiranyakasipu said, where do you get your power from? And Prahlad mentioned, well, I get my power from, and where everybody gets the power from, where you get your power from the same person, from Vishnu. Of course, Hiranyakasipu didn't like that answer, but that was factual, that even the demons get their power from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's only one source of all greatness and all existence, and that is Krishna himself. So when you actually understand completely, there is nothing outside of the Lord. And the Lord is divided into two aspects of himself, the Lord and his energy. So therefore we say Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. Everything is one with and different from the Lord. The different from is the energy, and the one with is his personal feature. But as Prabhupada made that indication, even the energy is non-different than the Lord because it is coming from the Lord. But we worship the energy of the Lord by giving the energy of the Lord to Krishna in devotion, and that is bhakti yoga, to take the energy of the Lord. Whatever you have, your possessions, your intelligence, your time, your resources, whatever you have, you use them in the service of the Lord, and then they become what we say, again, connected to their source. So that's why we say everything in devotional service is of the nature of spirit, because as soon as it connects back with the spirit, it again attains its natural position. So from the absolute point of view, there's no such thing as matter or material. Material simply means cut off from. We use that terminology in order to talk about the creative energy, such as this energy. It's called Bahiranga Shakti. There is Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, and Tatastha Shakti. So the Lord's energies are divided into different categories which function in different ways. But they're all spiritual because they're all coming from the same source. Although they manifest themselves differently, therefore we describe them as being material, spiritual, or a combination of both. But they're all spiritual because nothing material can come from Krishna. But what makes it a material is that when the living entities in the material world use the energy of the Lord for their own selfish interests, then it's material. And then when you connect it back to Krishna in devotion, it again attains its spiritual nature. And even the scientists were able to come up with something. They said matter cannot be created or destroyed, and that's fine. That's actually true. Matter cannot be created or destroyed because in its essence, it's spiritual. You can break matter down to its essence. For instance, if you take water and put it on a fire and boil it, it'll evaporate and turn into gas, which is another form of the material energy. So it evaporates, but all you're doing is changing the molecular structure of the material and changing it into another form of itself. But it still exists, only in another form, that's all. Just like our body is made of a combination of earth, water, fire, and air. So combined, it looks like something, but actually all it is, if you break it down, is these four elements. That's all it is. But it turns into a form of a body. And then if you look at it, you take it apart, you find that there's only these four elements, that's all, in different combinations to make up blood and bones and various types of secretions in the body. That's all it is. It's Krishna's energy formulated in a certain way, that's all. So the point is that once we know this, that's why Krishna spoke this particular chapter to Arjuna, to let you know that there's nothing outside of him. And ultimately, if you want to see him, here's one way to find him in the greatness of the material existence. But that's generally for those who don't have much knowledge. That's why Krishna said, yeah, it's only a small portion of who I am. The real opulence of the Lord, again, is his compassion upon the fallen souls. But the real attraction for the Lord is not the power of the material energy, but the Lord himself in his transcendental feature as he manifests his different incarnations. So all of these incarnations, when we read about their pastimes, we develop an interest in Krishna, and that interest turns into a type of attraction, which comes, then we get attached to Krishna, and we want to hear more about Krishna, and then we develop our love for Krishna. So everything is connected to him, but the essence for the devotees is to hear and chant his glories, which are illustrated by his pure devotees. when they write books or when they speak, then we understand, yes, here is Krishna. Yes, he is all attractive. That is Krishna. And for those who manifest the worship of Krishna, who become absorbed in worshiping his deity form, for them, they become absorbed in Krishna and dressing the deity, bathing the deity, waking up the deity, feeding the deity, putting the deity to rest, singing songs to the deity. This becomes their absorption, and that way they become fully Krishna conscious. Okay, so this is just, I didn't even scratch the surface. And I didn't even make any mark about the opulences of Krishna. It's not possible. There's one verse in the Bhagavatam, it says that as birds, according to their wing power, can fly up into the sky so high, similarly, when one tries to glorify the Lord, according to his own ability, he can just go so high. But then it goes on to say, the sky is unlimited, but the birds are limited. So in the same way, Krishna is unlimited. So whatever we say about him is totally minuscule compared to his, opulences. But there's enough there for each and every devotee to become fully Krishna conscious. And that's the main point, is that although we may not know so much about God, still, if we become fully attracted to God in devotion, then we can become fully purified and go back home, back to Godhead, and attain the goal of life. So therefore, there's something for everyone, and everyone can reach perfection, even though we only know a small portion of the total existence of the Lord. That portion is not even describable, it's so small. Okay, I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for such a wonderful class. And when you said that you didn't even scratch it, I was like, wow, this is going to be an amazing, amazing class. But thank you so much for really helping us to see, if we can, with our conditioned eyes, at least for me, Krishna's opulence all around us. Would like to ask devotees if you have any questions, any comments, any clarification on what we just heard, or anything related, any questions that you have on your mind, please do raise your hand, or you can just jump right in. And I'm going to go down this list here to see if there's any questions. Marge, I have
Yes.
a question, Marge, and
come back to the actual,
okay,
screening.
shall I share screen? I mean, just stop sharing, Marge? Yes, I can.
Yeah, come back to that. That's
Sure.
nice. And ask the devotees if they can turn on their cameras. That's nice.
Please, devotees, can you please turn on your camera? Maharaj is humbly requesting all of us to have, as much as we can, personal association through this machine.
This is another feature of Krishna's energy.
Yes, Maharaj. Maharaj, I would like to ask a question, as you were speaking about seeing Krishna everywhere, Krishna's opulence and Krishna's energy. And at the same time, we see what is happening in Kali Yuga, and with so much destruction, so much, war and disagreements, and, people wanting to take over control. And I was asked this question: how can one see Krishna's energy or opulence through all this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he says, Mitya Sarva Arasyaham. It says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am also death. And he also says that, what else? He says that, yeah, he expands himself as Brahma, as the creator. He expands himself as Vishnu, as the maintainer, and he expands himself as Shiva, as the destroyer. So Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are the energies of the Lord, Vishnu being his personal form. What Brahma and Shiva are creating and destroying. Bhuta Bhutnuya Baliyate. So the living entity misuses their independence to try to become independent of the Lord, to enjoy separately. And then there is conflict on all levels. When so many individuals want to become separate from the Lord and enjoy the Lord's resources, property, then there's competition. And that competition brings envy, anger, greed, and lust. So, of course, there's different levels of consciousness. The pious people accept what they can get and be happy with it and live nicely. The persons in the mode of ignorance, they're never satisfied with whatever they had. They want more and more, and they want to become greedy to usurp other persons' properties. One nation gets envious of another nation and wants to destroy that nation. So there's conflict. And that conflict is an expression of anger. And as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, it's the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world, is anger, because it destroys everything. And so they've made weapons of destructions out of the resources of the material energy, taking nuclear power and using it in the form of armaments in order to destroy each other. So this is the misuse of the independence of the living entity, which the Lord allows to happen because he gives independence, but he also gives intelligence and direction on how to use that independence to go back to him and come back to the spiritual world. But there are a class of people that reject the Lord, don't believe in the Lord, and want to remain independent of the Lord. And therefore, the material world facilitates that type of persons. So the material world is a place of conflict. It's a place of suffering. It's a place of uncertainty. And it comes in different forms. And so this is the nature of this world. And so for a devotee doesn't want to be part of this world. They want to be part of the spiritual world. So the devotee uses the resources that the Lord gives to serve the Lord. And the non-devotees use the resources in order to try to enjoy separately. Of course, that enjoyment is not real. It's another form of struggle, that's all. And so because people cannot become happy with material resources, but they have this illusion that they can, so they think if I just get more, I'll be happy. I just don't have enough for happiness. I need more. And so when that consciousness becomes pervading, then there's conflict on different levels. You have the example of Hiranyaksha. He was never satisfied. He just simply took as much gold out of the earth and caused the earth to fall out of its orbit into the Garbhodak ocean. Nowadays, they're drilling into the earth for precious metals, for natural gas, for oil. It's disturbing the balance of the earth. So this greed is an expansion of lust. When lust becomes so strong, it turns into greed, and then greed destroys all the good qualities of the living entity and causes people to be envious towards one another. So these bad qualities are reflections of rejecting God and trying to become separate and enjoy separate from God. That's all. This is the material world. It's a prison house.
Thank you, Marge. I like how you ended that. The prison house was like here, a prison house with invisible walls, Marge. Is it possible to
Yeah.
assume that?
Yeah, the walls are invisible, the chains are invisible, but they're there. That's why this world, this material world is called Maithunya Agura, the shackles of sex life. So sex life is the number one chain that keeps everyone bound up in this material existence. Prabhupada said if that wasn't there, people wouldn't do anything. It represents the highest form of pleasure in the material world. But we have seen that even those who have as much as they want and can get as more, they're still never satisfied. And so what they go after is something even more subtle than gross sex life, and that is the power of control. So that the power of control is even a greater form of what's the word? Greater form of desire for those of demoniac mentality. They want to control more and more and more, so they can enjoy more and more and more. Just the idea of controlling is an opulence of enjoyment. In other words, they find great pleasure the more they can control. That's a demoniac mentality. And I'll give you some statistics. 87% of all of the natural resources in the world today are owned and controlled by 3 corporations in the world. 87%. I can name 2 of the corporations, but I won't name them.
I was about to ask you, Marge, what they were, but I won't.
If you want, I'll name them, but you write me an email and I'll send you the names.
Yes, Marge. I'll send you an email, Marge.
These are statistics. So, the governments are controlled by the demons also. No government is independent in the world. They're all controlled by big, powerful demons who have no allegiance to any country. Their allegiance is to a one world, powerful, control type government, which they want to orchestrate through their energies. And that's the demons. All you have to do is read the Bhagavatam. You'll see how the demons think. Or you just simply listen to the words of Krishna. He explains what the demons think. So I think I mentioned in one particular lecture, I'm not sure if it was here, it's a statement by Prabhupada where he said, Maya, we have no problem with Maya. But because there are demons, Maya has to serve the demons, and therefore there's so many problems in the world because of the demons. So Maya is subservient to the demons now. And because they worship her. Just like we worship Krishna's different forms, they also worship some of the horrible forms of material energy, which are personified in some of the demigods, like Kali Bhairavya, which is an expansion of Lord Shiva, or Bhadra Kali, which is expansion of Durga, Chandidas, and these are all manifestations of the external energy that are worshipped by the demons in order to get more and more power. You see in the Bhagavatam, when these dacoits captured Jad Bharat, they wanted to make a sacrifice of him in front of the goddess Chandi, goddess Durga, I think it was. And so they were going to make a human sacrifice in front of him. But because he was a pure devotee of the Lord, Chandi didn't allow it. So she sent her female assistants, and they came out of the deity of Chandi and started killing the dacoits. Yeah, you can read it in the 5th canto. It's actually visualized in the form of some artwork there. So yeah, the demons also worship these lower forms of the demigods. You know, Ravana worshipped Shiva. Hiranyakashipu worshipped Lord Brahma. Kamsa, he was worshiping Durga also. So the little demons, they don't know anything about worship. They just make policy. Let's start a war over here. Like this war that's going on now in Ukraine. It's just it's another step in bringing control into the world. That's all it is. It's another part of the demon's plan to. It's. I can't really get into details because it's too complicated. Because there's so many factors to it, and because it's politics, you can never be certain about politics because politics is never absolute. And there's so many dynamics to it. But ultimately, it's another plan of the demons for control. That's what it is, ultimately.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Namrata Mataji, please go ahead.
So you're
Yes,
wondering why
Maharaj.
you're wondering why there's so many problems in the world. The demons are there. It's the demons cause all the problems.
Yes, Maharaj, that they're way too active and way too busy.
Yeah. Therefore, we want to bring in Lord Chaitanya's movement, and we do that through Harinam Sankirtan. This will push back the influence of the demons, and that's Lord Chaitanya's plan for this age, is Sri Harinam Sankirtan, to purify the world and bring people back to Krishna consciousness. So Mahaprabhu has a plan.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Yes, Namrata Mataji, please ask your question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, very first thing you told, this is a prison, but I guess we are in the best shelter because you already did the prison preaching. So we are in the best hands, I guess.
Well,
So,
you're on parole right now. Pretty
so
soon you'll be a free soul. Right now you're on parole.
So we are at least satisfied. We are in the best shelter, Maharaj. We are directed in a right direction under your shelter. So,
Prabhupada he's the person that's getting us all out of prison.
yes, Maharaj. Maharaj, my question was, this question is not exactly from me, but there was a person who was more inclined towards Shiva Bhakti. So he questioned me that people in Vrindavan, they worship Radha Rani to get the mercy of Krishna. So being a highest Vaishnava, why can't we worship Shiva to get the same?
Well, there's Shiva worship is like Krishna only accept worship that is done in devotion. But Shiva will accept different kinds of worship based on austerities, penances, and different rituals. So different types of people worship Shiva. Some worship him as a demigod for material benefits, and some worship him as the Supreme Lord, because in the Shiva Purana and other places, he is also glorified as Bhagavan Shiva. So if they worship Shiva as the supreme personality of Godhead, then that's fine. Let them worship in that way. That's good. That's all right. because eventually Shiva will take them to Krishna. But if they worship Shiva for material benedictions, which is another form of worship that he accepts, then it's what will happen is they'll just go down. These demigods will facilitate various types of worships depending on the nature of the worshiper and the ingredients and the use for the worship. So we don't discourage people to worship Shiva who are worshiping him as the supreme, but we do discourage people to worship him as a demigod.
The demigod.
Which is, yeah, Shiva's like that. He's quite diverse. And you see some of the followers of Shiva are ghosts, rakshasas, and people on very low levels of existence. The demons worship Shiva. But then we also, godly people worship Shiva too. But the results of the godly people worshiping Shiva is that Shiva is a devotee of Ram. So if you worship Shiva, if you worship Shiva properly, you'll come to Krishna worship or Ram worship, either one.
Okay.
But so you have to see what type of worship they're approaching Shiva with. Because if you stop them from worshiping Shiva and they're worshiping Shiva as the supreme, then you destroy their bhakti and then they won't worship anything. But if they're worshiping him as a demigod, then we should say, well, actually, worship him as the supreme if you want to worship Shiva.
Correct.
But if you can encourage him to worship Krishna, that's even better.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. That is the ideal worship. But some people I do see that they are naturally more inclined towards the Shiva Bhakti. So I was just wondering over this, that, many times you try to tell the person so much about Krishna, but, they turn around and come back to Shiva Bhakti. And because they have that natural inclination, or maybe from years they are practicing that. So
As long as they're not worshiping for material benefits, then that's fine.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for the clarification. That was really an interesting answer. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Namrata. Mother Geeta, please go ahead, Mother.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you. Thank you so much for such a nice class, Maharaj. You were talking about being on parole and coming out. So can you please explain what are the symptoms of one who is on parole and what should one do to come out of this prison house? Thank you, Maharaj.
Well, on parole means you're on your way out, or you're out, but you still have to be accountable so you don't again fall back into your prison-like activities. So in other words, we may not be fully Krishna conscious, but we're executing devotional service. So that's the parole category. When we become fully Krishna conscious, then we are free. In other words, those who still have material desires but are executing devotional service, they're moving away from the prison, but still they could also go back to the prison if they are not accountable to their spiritual master, to devotional service, to the instructions given. In other words, they're mixed devotees.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah. Thank you, Gita. Hare Krishna, my obeisances.
Thanks so much.
Any other questions from devotees on this really nice discussion? Marge, what was coming to my mind when a question that was coming to my mind when you were answering Mother Gita's question is you mentioned the word accountable. How can one be accountable when one is not aware? And I have actually come across some situations like that.
Well, I have to make people aware. That's the idea. That's what preaching is about. It's helping people become aware that they have to be accountable to Krishna, to the spiritual master, to the process of devotional service. We always have accountability on some level. Even in the material world, people have to be accountable to their family members in some form, to their responsibilities in the social environment. So everyone's accountable, but devotees have to be accountable to Krishna through the spiritual master. That's the main category or main avenue for accountability, is we very carefully follow the instructions of the spiritual master.
Marge, I think one keyword that you used that really was like pretty strong for me was accountable to Krishna and the spiritual master. That was a very strong point.
Yeah, otherwise we'll be accountable to something material. You can't get away from this accountability. It's part of our existence. Because as soon as we perform activities, we're connecting with some category of existence. And then there's an accountability to that category. So when we connect with devotional service, we're meant to be accountable to the spiritual master. And if we're working under the guise of some authority, then we're accountable to that temple president, that yatra leaders.
Thank you, Marge. Any other questions from devotees? Any thoughts, clarification? Yes, Mother Sukavaha, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to your lotus feet. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, for the wonderful and very deep class. I've got a silly question. It's just, sometimes we get devotional service from so many devotees. And it's very difficult to cope up with all of them. How do we prioritize, or what should we do in that case?
Well, the tendency is to do what we like to do.
They say that you shouldn't be doing the devotional service you like to do. You should do what you are told to do, isn't it? So I'm so confused.
Well, I'm saying if you have too many, then you'll choose, right, what you'll like to do, right? That's natural.
Okay.
But you might, now that seems to be natural. Now, higher than that is what service needs to be done that's more important. Can't wait. That will be a higher priority. Let me see what needs to be done, rather as opposed to what I'd like to do. So then you can choose like that. If you can do all of it, then that's ideal, but sometimes it's just not possible. So what's the most important thing that needs to be done? Okay. So
in that case,
yeah. So we can use examples,
Yeah, in that case, we upset some devotees, sometimes.
Well, it depends. You have to explain that what you can do and what you can do. I mean, I'm always getting requests, and a lot of the requests are contradictory in terms of the times. Just today, 2 more things appeared in my schedule for requests, and one of them happens to be in conflict with something else, and the other one could be in conflict with something else. So then I have to choose, you know. So you're going to disappoint one person and you're going to make another person happy.
For you, it's okay, Guru Maharaj. You never make anyone unhappy.
You don't know everybody I know. Just like today, I got a text message from one person. He had 5 different things he wanted me to do. 5.
Wow.
All in the thing. And then he ended by saying, there's more, but I'll only give you 5 right now. This happened today. I'm serious. So I just answered the first 2, and I thought I'd say yes in the first 2, and then maybe that would be enough. I didn't even answer the last 3. So, so yeah, this is life, you know. It's just the way it is. And how many should you do?
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marge. Any questions from devotees? Any anything on any topic? It doesn't have to be related to this, but any questions on any spiritual topics, you can either jump right in or you can just raise your hand. I'm going down the list so I don't miss anyone. It's my helper is not here. If there isn't, Maharaj, would you like to end with a round of chant? It's one round of chanting. That's what I meant to say.
Okay, we ended it. Okay, good. Yeah, let me take a few minutes here to secure.
That's fine, Maharaj, no problem. This
In relationship to Sukavaha's question, I just remember something that Mother Teresa, the famous Mother Teresa, said. You remember Mother Teresa? She was a great saint.
Yep.
Yeah, and someone asked her, Mother, how do you help so many people? And she said, one at a time.
Yes. Thank you. Very good tip.
She puts her heart and soul into each person she deals with, one at a time. Not that she's just trying to rush through all of them and help so many. Each one is important, and each thing should be done with the utmost care and attention.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so we can begin.
yes, Maharaj.
Jai Sri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. 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 Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. 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 Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. 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 Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare 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 Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for giving your time and your blessings and your mercy. And so it was such a wonderful class. And we thank the devotees for joining us. Maharaj, we hope to see you in America soon. And we hope that I'm just putting my request in, Maharaj.
I know there's something I shouldn't tell you, so I won't tell you.
Uh-oh. Okay. Is it a surprise, Maharaj?
Surprises have a kind of a connotation of being something nice.
Oh, okay. I won't go any further, Maharaj.
Anyway, I want to